Good evening, everyone. Got a small group today, the graveyard shift. Our group. Today I'm going to talk about Chrome extensions and applications. I was surprised when I first saw the extensibility of Chrome, how well you can actually write applications for this platform, and how easy it is to create a thing like application. So I'm just going to start off as a disclaimer. I'm not that guy, he's the expert. I'm a beginner when it comes to Chrome applications and extensions. I just researched it quite recently. So the amount of information I can share today is quite limited, but if there's any questions, if there are any questions at least, feel free to ask, and maybe you can see if me or Google can help you solve it. Okay, so quickly on our agenda today, we're going to talk about package apps, also browser extensions, and then we're going to quickly go through the process on deploying a package app or an extension to the web, to the Chrome Web Store, which is the kind of like an iStore for Chrome. Then we're going to do something interesting, port it to mobile. And then if there's time left, so I'm going to quickly show you Arc Welder. Then jump into that and see if there's time. Everyone is using Chrome, right? And Chrome is what? A browser.
Don't you use Explorer?
Yes. But it's not a browser. No. What is it? It's a platform. Most of us use Chrome as a browser, but it's more than just a browser. I mean, you were like this guy I was like this guy. I was like, what? When I first saw it. So this platform consists of four things: apps, extensions that we're going to talk about today, and also a native client and the store. The four pillars of the Chrome OS platform. Now, let's start at the application of the Google Apps. Now, it works on an app container model. All of us know how that works. Just to outline it quickly, your app sits in the cloud somewhere on a store, and then the user installs that application on his device or his computer. And then he launches it from his computer and it runs isolated. It runs in its own little sandbox environment on your phone. There's no interaction with a real-time web server to get like pages on the fly normally. So this is the normal app container model. So what are Chrome apps? Obviously it runs on Chrome, but it runs outside of the browser. This was a recent change. If you compare it to the extensions, which you'll get in a while, the Chrome apps are written in web technologies like HTML5, CSS, and JavaScript, but it gives you that near-native experience when you work with it, or when you build it. It's also offline by default, and the runtime gives you access to a rich set of APIs that's accessible to this package app. So why do we want to use Chrome apps? Well, if you think about Google and where they're heading, take the Chromebook for instance. Just by embracing Chrome apps and building Chrome apps, you've got an instant accessibility to another kind of market. You've got also, you can expand your audience. Also, you've got instant platform support. Integrate seamlessly with, it allows you to integrate seamlessly with the desktop, like I've mentioned, with the Chrome runtime. And what's very special to me is also the ability to integrate very well with OS. Like with OS X, it allows you to put your app in the Spotlight search. So when you can just go searching for it, it will pop up. natively. You don't have to go to a browser to open it or to a Chrome place to open it. Also with Windows, when you go search, it will pop up in that search results. So it looks and feels like a really native desktop application. There are 4 components of a normal Chrome packaged app. One of which, the most important one, is a manifest. It's a little file. We'll get into it in a second. Just like a flight manifest, it contains a summary of everything that's happening. It also describes your application. Then you have a background script, which is your background thread process that is umbrella for this app. It contains events for when it launches, when it installs, when it gets suspended, etc. Then the other application files, like your specific application files that you might use, which are also written in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And of course, you've got your application icons. So let's take a quick look at the manifest file. This is JSON. It's a normal text file, but it's in a JSON format. The components of it that's, I would say, optimal, the minimal. It's not all required, but I would say this is the optimal minimum you can use. First of all, it needs to have a manifest version, which must be 2. I don't know why, but they say it must be 2. Probably because of compatibility reasons. We don't know. Also, app name and version. You can see here, app name and version. Icons. Now, icons come in 2 sets or 2 or more sets. 16 size, 128 size. You can put in a 48 one, all sorts of sizes you want. And then also a section. And this section of this manifest makes your application a packaged app. It tells Chrome, this is a packaged app, and please start it at main.js. The application wants to use your camera, please approve. Background script is responsible for 3 things: installation, launch, and suspension. So this is a JavaScript file. So when it gets installed, this event will fire the chrome.runtime.oninstalled.addListener. It's a callback function. This is the stuff you want to be running like you create a database when an app gets installed, or initialize your environment for the first time. Then you have the chrome.app.runtime.onLaunched.addListener, which is when you open up the app, it will call that function. So in this case, it will just it will use the window API to create a normal desktop window, and it will chuck that HTML, which is passed in the views, which is currently in the views index HTML location. And also the suspended command, which is quite obvious there, is when Chrome or something happens and Chrome needs to shut down, it will call that function before it does, and you can do cleanup stuff to clean up messy stuff of the application, for instance. Let's quickly talk about the application lifecycle. So in any package application in Chrome, it goes through 5 stages. The initial one being installation phase, where you download it, you install. Then when you open up, it goes through a startup phase. And when you decide if you want to close it, it goes through a transition phase. When there's updates on the store and you want to update the app, there's an update phase. And when you are done with the app, you don't want to use it anymore, you uninstall it. There are more information on this app lifecycle and actual stuff you can do upon that each stages of each lifecycle. So security is any developers sort of not concerned because they just we just write applications. We don't worry about security yet. And by the time the network operator or the system administrator says, okay, this thing is not secure, what now? Now, packaged apps work on the security model, which has the following details. It allows, every packaged app has a runs-in process, and it has its own isolated storage. Meaning, if you have 3 apps, and there you go, something goes wrong with app number 2, it doesn't break app 1 and app 3, because it runs in its own little sandbox environment. The Chrome runtime handles the whole life cycle of each one. Same with storage.
Is that why you see like 10 Chrome processes when you...
That's why you see 10 Chrome processes, I believe, yes.
What the hell, I didn't open 10 times.
Yeah. Maybe, we'll see.
So,
But yes.
yeah.
Same with storage. So if the application creates a file on disk, it's not accessible by application 3, for instance. The only application 1 that creates application 1 files can see application 1 files. I believe there are ways, if you want to share files across apps, there are services and events you can wrangle. I talk under correction, whereby you work by the runtime by raising events and stuff to make that possible. Then you have the CSP, which is the content security policy, which is provided by Chrome. This is especially nice for legacy applications. If you have a website you want to port to a Chrome app, but you know there's like special JavaScript you run, because remember, this is not a website anymore. This is an application. It needs to act and it needs to be an application. So all the eval statements and all the dodgy cross-site scripting JavaScript functions that you might have in your previous application cannot happen. Chrome will break the application. It won't work. But there's a way of sandboxing them. If you explicitly want to show them in like a sort of a sandbox, sub-sandbox environment, you specify a sandbox section in your manifest with a list of files, HTML files that are special children. And Chrome will handle it differently under a controlled manner. Like it will allow evals and that sort of execution. Then there's the provisions section that I spoke about, which is also part of the security. Like I mentioned, if you want your application to make use of the camera or the USB port or Bluetooth or what have you, you specify it there, and Chrome will do the rest in asking the user for permission. Now, there are some times when you need to display a website within your application, like if you want to build a browser. For that reason, in that scenario, you want to be making use of the web view tag, which is like an iframe. And Chrome will literally translate that into an iframe, and it will put the website inside of that, and it will run its own little thread, its own little thing. It can break on its own. It doesn't touch it. So let's do a demo. So first I want to do, let's see here, might be really straight. Because of time constraints and complexibilities, and because of I didn't have really time to prepare for this presentation, I've did a pre-written one. I'm not going to code in front of you, it's just going to be a mess. And I've learned from the previous presentation that the demo cards need to be with you when you are demoing. In this case, I don't think they are. So I've got a little folder here. Can you guys see? Left-hand side on top, it says Hello Fixxup. It's a little folder structure. Let me do this. Do this. See, does that work? Got a folder, and underneath that folder, there we go. I've made subfolders. That's just the assets, like the stuff my application uses for marketing purposes. But then you've got the icons, your images, your scripts, your styles, and your views. You don't have to divide it into folders like that. I just like to keep things clean and sort by type. So I'm using Atom Editor. If we take a look at if we take a look at the manifest first, this is the manifest I spoke about last time. The manifest, in this case, the application we're going to build is Hello Fixxup. So it's an application that displays the Fixxup logo with a button, and when you click on it, it's going to say hello, like a normal Hello World app, but a special one for Fixxup. It's got our icons, which is in that icon folder. We've got a 16 pixels one and a 128 pixels one. And then we've got the special app tag that tells Chrome it's an application. And it will run in the background, and it will, the main entry point will be on the scripts folder, the main.js file. So when we go there, this is the main.js file. So currently, like on this presentation, when the app gets launched, we want to call chrome.app.window.create, and we want to say view, put the HTML of the view, put the HTML of the file in the views folder in the window. If we navigate there, it's this little guy, normal HTML. But I've put a special thing in here called dialog. Now, a dialog is a special functionality. It's not real HTML, but it just shows you what kind of things you can do with Chrome apps. Dialog is a special, call it an API, if you may, that the Chrome runtime interprets as a dialog box, and it will probably give you a near native feel of a pop-up dialog box instead of writing a div and handing in the stuff of it. So we've got a heading, we've got a button that says say hello, and it's got this dialog here. Now also note that I've linked my style sheet. So without the style sheet, everything will run like all over the show. The styles are responsible, obviously, for the look and feel. Not even going to go into the style sheets. All of us, I believe, are web developers. But most important, this dialog.js file, it needs to be loaded when the index.html file gets loaded. It will load this page-specific logic. So on load, I want to grab my dialog element, and I want to grab my greet element, greet button, and my close button. And when I click my greet button, I want to show the dialog. When I click the close button, I want to close the dialog. That is it, and that's how complicated that can be. So without further ado, let's see if this works. So that's it. That is what a basic Chrome app looks like. So what I'm going to do is first show you guys how to install it on Chrome. So when I open a proper version of Chrome here, let's do it in incognito. I don't think it's going to break anything. So Chrome has the burger menu right on top. You click settings, you go to extensions, and there's all the extensions. If you're a developer, you can switch on developer mode. It will allow you to sort of add your own little applications to your own instance of Chrome to run it and to see how it works. So what you do is you click on Load Unpacked Extensions, you browse for that folder. It will proceed to look for a manifest folder, a file in there, and it will read the manifest, and it will know exactly what to do, how to run it, and it will pull it into Chrome. But an easier way that I've actually found out this morning was you can actually take this folder as it is and just drop it in there. Easy enough. With the logo and everything, it reads it and it works. Great. So you can also launch it from there. But let me show you okay, it's now installed. It's installed on your application, on your OS. There are two ways of accessing it. My favorite way is, Windows 8.1, the normal search. When you start typing searches, it comes up on the right-hand side. But now, when you type hello, it's there. It's integrated into your OS, and it will work exactly the same with the Spotlight search. So you can access it via this. And there we go. There's our Fixxup Chrome application. It's completely native with its own little icon. It runs outside the browser. You can completely close Chrome, not the Chrome process though, but just you can close the browser. It runs without the browsers being present. And this is completely cross-platform. So this same app will run as it is running on Windows. It will run on Linux and on Mac. And later on I'll show you on an Android device.
Hoe is dat voor elkaar gekregen, dat het platform onafhankelijk? Heeft het te maken met de code in basis, zeg maar? Dat het platform onafhankelijk draait?
Yeah, kijk, I'm just going to answer this in English.
Yeah,
it runs on the Chrome runtime, which it's, I believe it's using Node.js to run on.
Dat is ook gewoon platform onafhankelijk.
Ja, that's right.
Zeg maar.
Yes.
Als je Chrome heeft geïnstalleerd. Zodat
Yes.
Ja, heeft het.
Het is allemaal Chrome, zo draait. Alle toestellen Chrome.
Ja, want ook mensen. Ja, nee,
Yes.
dat draait het eigenlijk gewoon.
Have you guys heard of the Chrome, what do you call it, the Chrome tablets, the Chromebox or Chromebook? Yes,
Yeah.
the Chromebooks before.
No.
Is it that?
It's a tablet, but it's a very cheap one. It's a cheap tablet. It's very affordable, and it can only house Chrome apps. And this is a very nice way to sort of quickly write something for a business that doesn't have a budget for iPads or something per se. And then you can do all sorts of funky stuff like kiosks and stuff for like the movies in a very cheap fashion.
Okay.
Yep.
Another question from a non-web developer.
Yes.
Is a plugin and an extension and a Chrome app the same thing?
Yes. Yeah. Chrome app is different from a plugin or extension, but the extensions and plugins are the same thing.
Okay.
Okay. So there is our little Fixxup Chrome app, which does a very complicated thing by saying hello. And also, like I've mentioned, when you install Chrome or when you use the Chrome Web Store for the first time, it has this Chrome app launcher next to the start menu. I don't know where it is on the Mac, but when you click it will show you all your applications in Chrome. The same way as you open a new tab. I'm sure if you go somewhere here, yeah, it's not here. Somewhere here, you can view your applications.
If it's that, it must be good.
Missing circuit multiple. No. I've actually disabled it. No, view. But it doesn't matter. It will also pop up there somewhere, but the other way of doing it is using this handy pop-up menu. Okay, going back to the slides quickly. Now, to answer your question on Chrome extensions, they are very similar to Windows applications, very similar to Chrome applications, but specifically they have one job and that is to extend the browser. It doesn't run outside the browser. You need the browser to be open, and it does one thing, and that extends Chrome browser only. So it's, like I said, it adds additional functionality to the browser, like changing the background, or I've seen cool extensions like, for instance, showing a bigger image when you hover over the image. Instead of clicking on it, you can just hover over it, and all the websites, it will handle that automatically. It's obviously built with HTML5, CSS, and JavaScript, like Chrome needs to work with. And I've mentioned it like, and I haven't mentioned this, but it installs like conventional applications. You have a store, you click on it, it installs locally, and it works exactly like that way. The APIs, it also has the Chrome browser also has its own set of APIs that it exposes, but it's very limited if you compare it to the Chrome applications APIs. There are more. I don't believe you can access the Bluetooth or the USB ports because it still needs to be sort of a browser-specific API, but it all depends on where they're heading with the browser and functionality-wise. So just to recap again, the manifest file, this is very similar. This is the exact same, well, basically the same one than the application one. The only difference is that's not visible here is the background script has a slight different declarative way you do it, but it's the exact same parts you specify. Now let's build a translation extension. Some of you might have seen this extension, but I'm going to show you under the hood how it looks. This translation extension, it will run behind the scenes. There won't be an icon showing you on the screen, but it will run behind the scenes on any text box or any text area on a website. We're going to be able to press, if you type something in a text box and press Control Space, whatever you typed or highlighted, it will translate that to Dutch. Okay, on the fly. So this kind of, I built this because in the beginning, chatting to people like Vodafone or T-Mobile, it kind of helped me a lot to these inline chats. Rather going back to Google Translate and trying that. But in this case, being a Microsoft guy, I'm just talking to the Bing API that's sitting on the cloud. So what it's going to do is, the moment you press Control Space, it's going to fire off a event that something needs to be translated. It's going to capture that piece of information, send it to the Bing Translate API. I've got a key and everything with them. They're going to translate it and do all the work, and they're going to send me back the string that's translated. I literally tell Bing, this is the text, this is the source language, this is the destination language. Please do the work. And the extension will just take the text and replace whatever you typed or select it with the Dutch version. So shall we take a look? I'm excited. Okay. So yet again, I'm not going to write some code, I'm just going to show some code.
I can see you in South Africa.
Okay. So this is the translate folder. I'm going to open up in Atom again. And that goes other one. This one is not showing me the right one. Here we go. So the manifest looks, like I said, it looks a bit different, but still the same sort of. It has your name. It has a description that says handy extension for translating any text anywhere to Dutch. It's got a version number. It's got a tune for manifest version. Don't ask me why. Then it has a permission whereby, remember now this is an extension, it's not an app. So it needs permission to go to do stuff. So it needs to ask Chrome to actually go across domain, because it's actually living in its own domain. And it needs to have permission to go across domain to get stuff. And in this case, I want to allow the data market from Azure. And then the section, the content scripts section, is part of the extensions API. That tells Chrome that this is a content script. It's a script that modifies or updates the content of the page you're on, or of the tab you're on now. The JavaScript I'm using, this also shows that you can use third-party frameworks like jQuery or Angular, for instance. It doesn't stop you from doing that. In this case, I'm just using a minified version of jQuery 2, and then my background script. The matches tag, you need to explain this very properly. This extension will only be activated when the URL matches that pattern. So you can go, say, for instance, this extension for Twitter. This extension can only work on Twitter and only limited by saying HTTP like this. And it will only allow Twitter pages, so it will only activate that extension when it sees Twitter pages. So it sort of optimizes it instead of for everything. So if you know sort of a whitelist, or you know all the sites it works with, not like this wildcarding everything, then you won't have a problem. Okay. The backgrounds, don't be afraid, it's just code. The background's piece of code. I'm just going to go through it a bit line by line. It's very easy. I'm going to explain it to you in a slow fashion. So I grab my text box element, which is any text area or any input type of text on the screen. And upon a key down event in the JavaScript world, I want to execute this function, the process function, which accepts a handler or event. It accepts an event. Then this is going to fire on every key press. Now, I only wanted to do my translation when I hit Control Space, because it will be a bit dumb doing on every keystroke, all the requests back and forth. So when the Control key is pressed and space, because 32 means space, checking the key code for 32, I want to stop what it's doing in the tracks and say prevent defaults, but also call my translate function and pass in my element, which is the e.target. Then my e.target, my translate function gets the target and grabs the from text from the value of the target. Then it tries to determine if you've highlighted a portion of the text by calling the window.getSelection. This is all variables I'll declare. So I've got a from text, and I've got a highlight, and I've got a URI, which is a it's an API endpoint in Azure that I pass in my my endpoint, and I say this is the text and this is the from and to. The to is Netherlands or Dutch. I'll hide this guy. And then I also need my token for being, otherwise they won't authorize me to do the translation. So the next step is I just check if there's no text highlighted. I just want to take everything instead of just taking nothing. Otherwise, it will be nothing. And then the last step is to do an AJAX call, get call to the URI I've specified above. And before send, I just add the authorization information, the tokens and stuff. This is all just JavaScript. It's not specific to Chrome or anything. Just want to highlight that. So when it comes back, it calls this JavaScript function that grabs the data, gets the results, and the target that it has, it replaces that value with the results it gets from the Bing service. And that is it. That's the extension. So I'm going to now show you guys that there are no smoke and mirrors happening here. So let's go to a site, editor, edit pad. Give me a bit. Type IRU. Please don't translate. See, Control Space, it doesn't work. Okay. So let's install this application or this extension and see if this works on this website. So again, we do the cowboy way. It opens up the extensions there. Open up my folder. Yeah, I'm gonna pop this extension in there. It's gonna install it in our translator, inline translator. Have a play of words there. So now when we go back to the web page, I need to refresh this. Let's also open up, I know Facebook also works. Yeah. And Stack Overflow. Okay. Let's, what must I type?
Die update is van Facebook, of kan dat niet?
Ja, you on Facebook? See if it will work, yeah. Okay, so hello everyone. Okay, so just a disclaimer, this is going to be a dodgy translation, but it just shows you the content.
Yeah.
Everyone. This is totally translated with Bing. Space. So yeah. And that's an example. And this whole thing will work in Stack Overflow. Let's ask a question.
Will it work on any English text?
Yes. The question is, will it work on any website? Was it?
Any English text in Chrome on all.
It works on any text box
Okay.
or any text area, which is because this is a text box.
Yes.
But a text area is a big block of text. It will work on any text block or text box. But it won't work on pages like Twitter. It won't work because Twitter uses a different way. It's actually in the background, the text area. So you're not actually editing a real text box. You're editing a div. So the key pressing you're pressing there. That's why it won't work. But there are ways around it of getting it to work with bindings. It's just the bindings that's out of sync. So I'm gonna go to questions and let's see if we can ask a question here. Did you show you that? Okay. This is sort of what I've really typed for some reason. Didn't go away. Let's delete this and say, I want to ask a question in Dutch. Double space. And okay, it's almost there. You see, so this helped me a lot when we're chatting to the folks online. You know, it's quite a handy tool to have. Okay, no, it's not done yet. Sorry. Next on the agenda is the web store. Is it? Let me make sure. Slides, yeah. Yeah, let's show you guys how to deploy your web application or your extension or Chrome package app terminology or extension to the Chrome store. There are many ways. One of which the easiest way is just to go to developer.chrome.com, or you can do it via the website. Or you can actually go to your store, and you click the little menu there down, you go to your web store, it will open up the launch. Have you guys seen this before? This Chrome web store. Then when you log in as a developer, to be a developer, you need to pay, I think it's a $5 once-off fee to be able to put applications on the store. But it's a once-off fee, they won't ask you that again. You just click your name and then you click the little gear icon and you go to the developer dashboard. For some reason, this is for testing purposes, I've done this to load it, but for some reason I can't take it off. I don't know why, but let me just take you through the process. Then there's a big blue button, add new item. You click it and it asks you to upload a zip file. So that zip file is basically the folder, but be sure to zip it within the folder, not the folder itself. Otherwise, it's a folder within a zip and it won't find the manifest file because they will unzip it and they will try to find the manifest. So we just do it by right click, compress, and we call this something like install. Use file, there's the install, open this up. Click upload. And after a while, here we are. So this will pull all the stuff from your manifest and try to put it in into the pre-written form. You can add a detailed description for your application. You can add an icon. At this stage, I don't have an icon. Some screenshots because all apps, it looks good with screenshots. Then you can have promotional videos here somewhere as well, I've seen. You can also, the pricing is very interesting. You can have in-app purchases, you can have normal, it's free, or you can have it to pay for. And you can limit it by a certain region. For instance, is it North Korea? I don't even know they're here. I don't see them. No, they're out automatically. In any case, there's tons of options you can set here to sort of make your app look special on the store and get some feet. And also for visibility options, if you just want to deploy it for yourself to test it, you can make it unlisted or private or public. This is how it's going to look like when you click preview changes. This is how your app will look like in the store when you search for it. To give you an idea, this is one I've done a while ago, which is called long tweet. It doesn't work anymore for some reason. Here's my store.
Download the long tweet.
Nee. Well, that thing. Yes. But it stopped working now for some reason because I think Twitter changed their website.
Okay.
So I just need to update this. So this is the typical extension. What this extension did is, when you tweet something, it cuts off at a certain point, your tweet, but allows you to type further, but it won't allow you to tweet. So what this extension does, it allows you to type further, but it also enables the tweet button, but it calls it shorten. So when you click on that shorten button, it will grab your tweet, send it up to the sky, and compress it with a link of the original version, and put the link in Twitter, and we'll go further. Okay, so let's do the following. Let's take our little application, and which is the Hello Fixxup. Minimize all that stuff. Okay, what is it now? Let's take this application and let's port this to Chrome, not to Chrome, to a phone like Android. I don't have a Mac, otherwise I would use my new iPhone. But I'm going to first try to do this with the emulator and see if it works. Then I would then use Stefan's phone to actually show you guys how it will look like on a real phone. This exact same application, no code changes, deploys it to the phone, and it's native. It will work. Shall we do that? Okay. So first of all, we need to find the application, which is not here. It is here. Okay, I actually have a PowerShell open. Yeah. So I just opened our PowerShell with administrative privileges. It moaned before when it was a normal mode, and then I need to execute. Yes. You can see there on top. So CTA is a sort of a keychain application. It's a helper runtime or command line interface. It stands for Chrome Cordova application, and Chrome has been actively involved with developing the Cordova with the Cordova platform for quite some time now, and they decided to also make their own sort of port of the Cordova platform. So you just you just use CTA, which you can get with npm. I've already installed it. How you install it? You just go npm install CTA, and it will install it from the new Node package manager. So then, to execute it, to use it, you say CTA create. You tell it to create an application. You give it a name like Hello Fixxup. But then, by default, if you just leave everything else out, it will create a new application. It will create a blank canvas and deploy it. But now you already have an application which you want to sort of link to and use. In this case, we have one which is situated in the app directory. But first, I'm doing something wrong. Here we go. It's just for effect. Okay, so okay. So this link to -- link to tells it to say create application, but link it to this Chrome application I created earlier and try to make sense of it and make an app. Don't ask me how that works. I will maybe find out later. But this is the way to do it. You just point to the path, and this path needs to contain a manifest file. It needs to find, because it uses that exact manifest file to read it and to make its own version of it. And enter. There we go. And it says your project has been created. So now when we go into that Fixxup folder, we created all these other Cordova-based Cordova-specific files. So now if we want to, or when we want to deploy this to the emulator, it's quite easy. And this is the time we need to sort of pray to the Git demo God so that doesn't happen what happened to Reha last time and Ang. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to do CCA run, and we're going to tell it the platform. We're going to say Android. If you have iOS, you say iOS. If you say Windows, you say Windows. And you tell it, I want to run this in the emulator. It will go ahead and compile using the normal Android SDK in this case, because you need the Java, and you need Java runtime, and you need the Android SDK, and it will use that assemblies to build the application, because it's not a native application. It's just wrapped around in a Cordova shell, and this will execute in an emulator. So for per day, let's see. I can hear my laptop spinning up. Suspense going. See, here it injects the CSP. Okay, looks like it's working. Going to start the Nexus image. There we go. That starts up. The older emulators, I believe, were very slow. There's a way of using the hacks method. It's just something you can. It's Intel. It's Intel thing. They use that methodology or method or something to speed things up. I don't know how it works, but it obviously it's running in the background. It's probably doing some kind of virtualization or something. It's much quicker. It starts up, and this is a Nexus. This is untouched code. There isn't any smoke and mirrors. It's the exact same copy, just ported it to mobile. Builds my application. Hopefully it will go further than 50%, which it does.
Last minute. Je hebt telefoon er ook.
Are there any questions in the meanwhile so far?
Yes, yeah.
We're done now. I got a weird error early on because of the space of the phone ran out, and it gave me a weird error. Initially found out it was the space. I had to delete some applications on the actual device to make it work. So the build has succeeded. Now I can install the application. You'll see now it will pop up there. Okay, this is not a video, by the way. This is actual an emulation. I was thinking about doing a video. Just to prove a point, we'll do it on the device right now. There we go. There's an application. Prove it works. Say hello, it works. And okay, at least it works in the emulator. And it's a proper application. You can click on the menu. You can find it there.
So you don't need, do you need Chrome on the device?
No, it's a proper application.
That's cool.
It just happens to be Android, but you can do it with iOS. It will work. Okay, so now let's do this with the device. Can I have a device, please?
So, what's the difference between this kind of app and the apps that you built with Ionic, for example?
Ionic also uses the Cordova platform.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing.
Okay.
They just, Ionic uses it, they both also contribute to the Cordova project, but they, both of them might allow different APIs because it's different implementations of the native device.
Which one do you recommend using?
I don't know, maybe Ionic, I don't know. I've seen this and I was like, hey, I'm going to use this.
That's quite cool.
Yeah, so especially when you have an application, you want to quickly port it over.
Yeah.
It will work fine. How work this thing? There we go. Okay.
Well spoken iPhone user.
Right. At least I'm not helping Windows but not gospel filing, you know? Okay, so let's try to get this bad boy on this device. Disclaimer, there isn't any Fixxup application in here, right? Okay.
Yeah, precies.
There isn't any. Okay. There isn't any application in here. You guys can check there. So what we do is it's the exact same thing. We instead of saying I'm very lazy, instead of saying run it on an Android, but I want to say run it on a device. There is a special thing you need to do to this device or a device to make it work. You need to make it a developer-friendly device. You need to tell it, I'm a developer. And the way to do it is you go to settings, then you go to about
phone, build number, 7 times.
Yeah, so you go to the build number and tap it 7 times, and then it says, hey, you're a developer. So the gist is you just have to have an Android, and you have to type it 7 times to be a developer by trade. So, so anyway, so yeah, having a developer-enabled phone allows your phone to communicate via the USB and debug it. So you can actually debug your code when it runs on your phone. It will debug it by the cable. So we're going to run CTA run Android on a device, the target. Enter. The build should go quicker because it already built it technically. Okay, well succeeded. Now it's installing on the device. Launching application. See it launches. Yeah. Here we go. So if I press this button, it will say hello. It's quite cool. At least I think it's quite cool. Okay. So let's quickly round up. But before I do, I want to show you guys a last cool thing that I've seen, which is very cool. So, you know, like the emulator kind of starts out very slowly and whatnot. I came across a funky thing called Arc Welder. Arc Welder, have you guys heard of that before? You have heard of it?
Probably from you, yeah.
When did you hear it from me?
Before you left, probably. No.
Okay. In any case, so Arc Welder, what does it stand for again? It stands for something CA. I can't remember now what it stands for. Pardon me. But in any case, Arc Welder allows you to, it's sort of a runtime. It reads Android packages like APK files, which is your app you open up on your phone. It allows you to browse for that APK file, and it allows you to mount that APK file on your computer. And it will it virtualizes the application, not the device. So you can have, and it quickly starts up that application in its own little sandbox environment. It's a proper application. There's no JavaScript, no nothing. Or it may have JavaScript as an app, but stuff like WhatsApp or Facebook or Twitter can work with this kind of thing. If you want to run that application if you don't have a device or you don't have an emulator that works, you can use Arc Welder to make to run it on your machine without having to install all this other stuff. So while there's about 100 megs download, it comes in the form of a Chrome app itself. So it's the Chrome application itself. Then the first thing it asks you is to say add your APK. So I've downloaded a few APKs already. There's WhatsApp. Let's go to one like Instagram. I don't think I have Instagram here.
Let's see what's up here.
Okay, let's do the WhatsApp one. Let's do the WhatsApp one.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a WhatsApp one. You can verify that it's the real WhatsApp. So it's an APK file, it contains binaries and stuff. So it asks you, okay, it recognizes this WhatsApp, and you want a portrait, and you want a phone, and you want clipboard access. Let's just launch this application and get with it. Then it launches your WhatsApp. There's WhatsApp. Exit continue. Okay, it's not tablet mode, not supported. Choose your country, just put in a number. I don't want to put in my number now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So to register, you need to be able to have some SMS or.
Yes, yeah. So now it's gonna, if you put in your real number, it should SMS your real number. I've tested it with my number. It doesn't really want to go through for some reason. I think they've updated WhatsApp that it recognizes it's a little virtual thing. But yeah, that's WhatsApp doing it. It's not the application. The application does what it needs to do. It just sends stuff to the server. But to prove a point, this is a real application running on your desktop without an emulator. It's emulating the app instead of the device. Okay, I don't think this will work. Let's see.
I can use this for activating SIM cards.
Yes.
Instead of putting it in the phone.
Yes, exactly. Exactly, if it works. No, let's call me. Some random guy will get a phone call. See, it doesn't work. They've sort of blocked it somehow. But quickly show you which is quite cool, the Instagram one, which works, I know. You can have more than one instance of this thing. You just don't have to say, when you launch it, it asks you to remove the previous one. You just say no.
Okay, so you can use this to test your own.
Yeah, you can have multiple ones open, and you can test app to app, like a chat app. You can test with this. On Facebook. And this one, oh, okay, it works. Yes. And there's Instagram. Cool. So, okay. So that wraps up my session on Chrome apps and extensions. Just want to thank Fix again for sponsoring everything. Fixxup. Now there's my stuff. If you guys want to ask me questions or people want to have answers or give me answers, something. Thank you very much.
Ja, thank you. Als jullie vragen gaan bedenken, dan ga ik even wat halen. Wil jij een biertje? Wat anders?